Hey y'all, I'm Lisa. Thank you for tuning in today. We're going to talk about what I call Houston's best kept secret today. So let me go ahead and share my screen and let's get into it. All right, here we are. EaDo, Urban Core Reimagined. That's what we're covering today. I want to walk you through why this little pocket between Highway 59 and I-45, as you can see here on the map, across from the GRB Convention Center and Minute Maid Park, has become such a hot spot for living, playing, and investing. That's EaDo. EaDo is basically Houston's urban core defined by its edges. So you can see some of the edges here that I just laid out. It's central, it's compact, and it's known for five big things. That would be walkability, nightlife, quick access to major job centers, urban industrial aesthetic, definitely has that, constant redevelopment, and really deep cultural roots. We'll go into some history today, and I'll be doing a live this week on site in EaDo, so you can get into that too this week. So let's get into more about EaDo. All right. It's aesthetic forge in industry, finished by artists. It does feel very artsy, very Brooklyn industrial. And let me show or talk to you why. Picture old brick warehouse like this one here, rail lines, and industrial buildings. And then mix that with sleek new townhomes and lofts. A lot of those older buildings have been converted instead of bulldozed. So it gives it that feel that I talked to you about. Very interesting. And the murals. The murals of EaDo are basically one big art gallery. They have a lot of color and street art everywhere, which gives the area creative and artsy energy and makes it actually feel walkable. Something that you don't always get in Houston. That's EaDo. Your backyard is the main sports event in EaDo. So let's talk more about that. Living in EaDo means your neighborhood hangout is basically the stadium district. You're right near the Shell Energy Stadium, home of the Houston Dynamo and Dash, literally on the edge of downtown. So that's what makes EaDo so appealing. You walk a little bit and you're in the Minute Maid Park, and then that's why people say pregame in EaDo, walk the Astros game. That's why people use that terminology, because of the convenience and walkability with EaDo. Now, let's talk more about how walkable EaDo is. Just give me a second here. We'll look at this map, and you're going to go through and you'll see what's actually there in EaDo. So you have the Truck Yard Houston with food trucks and live music. You have the Rodeo Goat for burgers, a huge soccer themed Pitch 25 beer park, and Eighth Wonder Brewery and Distillery with all its art yard and local beer. So if you like to be where the energy is, EaDo checks out all of those boxes for sure. EaDo has also become a culinary delight and it has deep roots. So let's talk about that. For years, it was old China and a working class industrial pocket, but that was rooted in longtime spots like the Kim and Son restaurant. It's a Chinese Vietnamese restaurant that's been an anchor for decades. It really set the tone for the food scene in EaDo, and it shows you how far that these cultural ties go. They go quite deep, actually. So let's go into finding your footprint in the grid. We'll talk about housing and value. That's fun too. So where does this at? What does it look like to live in EaDo? Let's talk about that. What does it look like to live in EaDo? To live in EaDo, you're talking about newer 3-story townhomes, often with tiny yards and or a rooftop deck, something like pictured here. You have like loft style living in converted warehouses with big windows and open layouts. That's always, it's an open canvas for you. And then you have mid-rise apartments with pools and amenities. And that's the sweet pot. So here's the sweet spot for EaDo, I should say. And that's if you'll live minutes from downtown and the medical center without paying the sky high HOA fees that you pay as you're right in the medical center and those corridors. So that makes it really attractive for young professionals, people working at the medical center. It's very convenient. It's very close. You're on the edges, as I mentioned earlier. That's always good. So here's basically the proposition. EaDo, you have the older East End, EaDo, and then the West Inner Loop where you see the dollar signs start going up. And that's the difference with EaDo. Now, EaDo is your launch pad to the city. In other words, there's access and everyday practical stuff in EaDo. Let's talk about that too. It is the location provides unparalleled access to, you can get in by car or metro rail stations around the stadium, and it's really short commutes. The ship channel is close. You see Texas Medical Center and downtown right there. And what's even adds to the appeal of EaDo is that it's urban living made practical. So you have grocery stores, food and shopping. Nearby anchors include Kroger, Randall's, which then specialty foods like Phoenicia, and HEB e-commerce fulfillment center is close. A lot of people do curbside or delivery. Very convenient. Also, it's close to the Bayou, Buffalo Bayou Park. So you have expansive Buffalo Bayou trails and systems and a growing network of green spaces at nearby river development. So that makes it really great. So from rail lines to rooftops, you can understand that there are some history behind EaDo. And I'm going to go into the history as brief as possible. In the 1900s, it was the industrial foundation. That area began as a historic East End. Its growth was fueled by the ship channel and the rail lines serving Houston and the warehouses and merchants. Then in the mid 20th century, you had old Chinatown and the community. It became known as Old Chinatown. In the early 2000s, there was a rebranding and redevelopment. Industrial shifted, moved out of it essentially, and it was rebranded EaDo, which is short for East Downtown. Developers began converting vacant warehouses into lofts, as I mentioned earlier, and then building new townhomes. 2012 to present, then the stadium was a catalyst for even more growth and development, and it made it brought even more energy to the environment. As I said, the breweries, the bars, and then the whole art feeling of the area with the murals on the walls, even more appeal. So that's the story of EaDo, but it does continue. The horizon at the East River, EaDo's evolution, it's ongoing. The neighborhood has so many benefits to it. So let's talk about what's coming: new trails, public green spaces, an eclectic mix of more restaurants and retail, modern office and residential spaces. This ensures that EaDo will remain central. It will continue to grow in value, amenities, and connectivity for years to come. So it's a great spot to be in. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will be going live. I'll be on site at EaDo this week coming up, so stay tuned for that so you can get a better feel for the community of EaDo. I'm Lisa, your Houston internet agent and one of the hardest working realtors. If you're thinking of building, buying, or selling, and you want updates on what's going on in Houston communities, make sure you follow, and you can reach out to me with my information in the description box below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.